All right, NASCAR Nation, stick with me here because this is one of those moments that could quietly reshape the entire future of the sport. We're talking about a name that is NASCAR, a name tied to its DNA, its power structure, its controversies, and its biggest decisions over the last several years. And now that name is stepping away from the top spot. But here's the thing. This isn't just a leadership change. This is a generational shift, a move that could finally break one of the longest standing traditions in all of motorsports. And I'm just gonna say it straight, this could either be the beginning of a new era or the start of some serious uncertainty behind the scenes. And hey, real quick, if you are a true NASCAR fan like me, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe to the channel. NASCAR Nation News is just getting started. We are pushing for our next subscriber milestone, and it's all about real talk from fans who live this sport every week. All right, let's get into it. So here's what's going down. Jim France, France is reportedly stepping down as NASCAR CEO. Let that sink in for a second. This is the guy who took over in 2019 after Brian France stepped away. The guy who has been steering the ship through one of the most chaotic, controversial, and transformative periods in modern NASCAR history. But he's not disappearing completely. He's staying on as chairman, and more importantly, he's still holding on to his majority ownership stake. So make no mistake, he's still going to have influence. But the real headline, Steve O'Donnell is expected to take over as CEO. And here's where it gets historic. For the first time since 1948, since the sport was founded, someone outside the France family will be running NASCAR. That's not just a change, that's a break from nearly 80 years of tradition. Now let's break this down, because this is where things get really interesting. First off, Steve O'Donnell isn't some outsider walking in cold. He's been NASCAR's president. He knows the system, the politics, the teams, the drivers, and the fans. He's been in the trenches. But here's the thing, being president is one thing, being CEO, that's a whole different level of pressure. You're not just managing operations anymore. You're shaping the vision of the sport. And stepping into that role right now, that's not exactly a smooth ride. Because let's talk about what Jim France is leaving behind. We just came off a brutal revenue-sharing battle that literally turned into an antitrust lawsuit. You had major teams like 23XI Racing and Row Motorsports going head-to-head with NASCAR over money, control, and the future of the charter system. That's not small stuff. That's the kind of conflict that can fracture a sport. Sure, they reached a settlement. Teams got permanent charters, which is huge. But don't think for a second that all the tension just disappeared. It didn't. And O'Donnell is walking straight into that environment. Now, add another layer. Jim France took a hardline stance during those negotiations. He wasn't backing down easily. That approach, it defined his leadership style. So now the big question becomes, does O'Donnell continue that same aggressive posture, or does he try to rebuild relationships with teams and create a more collaborative atmosphere? Because I'm telling you right now, that decision alone could impact everything from team stability to driver contracts to long-term growth. And we're not done, because there's also the internal shakeup. Ben Kennedy, Jim France's great-nephew, is stepping into the COO role. So while the CEO position is finally going outside the family, the France influence is still very much alive inside the structure. It's like NASCAR is trying to evolve without completely letting go of its roots. And then there's the optics. Let's be real for a second. Jim France didn't exactly come out of that antitrust trial looking dominant. Reports said he struggled during testimony early on, needed questions repeated, had difficulty recalling details. Now, he bounced back the next day, but still, that moment matters, because leadership perception matters. And right now, NASCAR is trying to present stability, while clearly going through a transition. And don't forget, earlier this year, Steve Phelps stepped down as commissioner after those controversial texts came out during the same revenue-sharing drama. So what does that tell you? This isn't just a leadership change. This is a reset at the top. So where does this leave NASCAR moving forward? Here's my take. This could be a turning point where the sport modernizes its leadership structure, becomes more transparent, and maybe, just maybe, builds stronger trust with teams and stakeholders. Or it could expose deeper cracks if the transition isn't handled right. Because fans notice this stuff. Teams feel it. Sponsors watch closely. And if there's instability at the top, it trickles all the way down to the track. Playoff implications? Indirect but real. Because when leadership is in flux, rule enforcement, consistency and long-term planning can all get affected, and we've already seen fans questioning NASCAR's consistency in officiating and decisions. This move is either going to calm that narrative or fuel it even more. So now I've got to ask you, is this the move NASCAR needed to finally evolve beyond the France family era, or is this just a reshuffling that won't really change anything? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear where you stand on this. And if you're riding with NASCAR Nation News, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and be part of the conversation every single week. Because this sport, it's changing fast. And we're going to break it all down right here